Well, hi there. Today I want to talk to you about creating better teams, better teamwork, specifically at the leadership team level, but this can actually apply to any team inside of your organization. We do like to start at the leadership team level because we feel like that sets the stage or it sets the example for the rest of the organization. But really, these tips can apply to almost any team in any context, not just a business context, but even perhaps a sports context or even family life, frankly. So we focus on two things, efficiency and engagement. The first thing to think about is, well, that teamwork is challenging, right? Teamwork is hard. We often hear things we don't want to hear, like we need to have another meeting. Our teams are stuck in analysis paralysis. We hear our teammates saying, what should I do? Kind of waiting for direction about every little thing rather than taking the initiative themselves. We hear them leaving. Attrition can be a real problem in our organizations. And we also just hear arguments, right? We hear like this kind of argumentative, catty, like whiny, politicizing within our teams. And really, the worst thing that we can hear is nothing at all, because often that silence indicates that there's a lot brewing underneath the surface, because, people are pretty naturally talkative and engaged creatures. And when they go silent, it's often an indicator that something is really going wrong and that we need to pay attention to it. Also, as leaders, we just notice that our teams have poor performance, they're missing deadlines, they're kind of phoning it in, they're not very emotionally engaged, and that there's this, again, kind of political culture where they're sort of stabbing each other in the back or jockeying for position that can be so toxic. So at the alignment company, we help leaders align their teams on all levels so they can perform at their best. What this means is that we really focus on both that sort of operational piece, that efficiency, creating efficient operations, and then also the cultural piece, which is more about engagement and emotion. And we've had the great good fortune to work with some really good companies over the past couple of years. We're still a relatively young company, but we've had some good success. And I want to share with you kind of what we've learned about creating good teams, and hopefully it can help your team out. So the first thing to think about is that team alignment is really, again, about efficiency and about engagement, right? And that means operations and culture. Operations, we want things to be efficient. We want to know who's on the team. We want to have good meetings. We want to have good tools. We want to, not have to hunt everywhere for the right answer to the questions that we're asking each other. We just want to have like kind of a good operational framework, all that stuff that's above the waterline that we can see about our organization or about our team. But we also want to have a team that has a really good culture, that feels like a good place to be, that kind of brings out the best in us, that we show up and we feel supported, we feel engaged, we feel present. And so I really want to talk about this cultural piece, because I think this is the piece we tend to, sort of as consultants and as business people, it's relatively easy to look at the operations or critique the operations, which I sort of think of as the intellectual landscape, the fact-based landscape of our team. But it's a little bit harder to address the emotions or the culture, and often we don't even value that at all. And yet it's a part of the team that makes kind of all the difference. It's very difficult to improve our operations when we have a bad culture. Likewise, bad operations can lead to a bad culture, and we can talk about this later, but really these two things interact, and if we're going to have a great team, we need to have both of them working well. So let's talk just a little bit about culture. So one thing we need to have on our teams is cognitive friction, and I think this is really the make or break feature of really great teaming, is that if we don't have people who are looking at the world in different ways, looking at the problem from a different perspective, from a different identity, from a different background, then we're going to just get groupthink. We're all going to look at the problem in the same way, and we're going to get the same old solutions to them. So what we need on our teams is really the ability to disagree, but to disagree productively. We need this idea A and this idea B to kind of interact in a way and come together to create this disruptive idea C. But the culture can really get in the way of that, and it gets in the way in a couple of different ways. First is that there can be a lack of what Dr. Amy Edmondson of Harvard calls psychological safety or team psychological safety. And that's where every person on the team is making the assessment that, hey, I can take a risk here. So if I have this different perspective, this different way of looking at the problem that we're looking at, I can bring it out. I can say, oh, I see this. What about this idea? And this idea, I may be wrong. It may be a little bit crazy. It may feel a little bit unwelcome. And so unless I feel safe, unless I feel like, well, crazy ideas are welcome here, I'm welcome here, I feel like I can take a risk here, I can try something new. Unless I feel that, unless I make that assessment, then I'm just going to keep that idea to myself, in which case the team is never going to benefit from the cognitive friction that's in the room. So having psychological safety, and this is like every person has to decide this for themselves. Every person has to believe that they're in a place that's okay to take personal risks. And we all have different baggage we bring to things psychologically, emotionally. And so this becomes a really kind of deeply personal question. So it's really important for us to ask. And the other thing we need is to have trust, right? We need to feel like we are both cared for on our team and that our team is capable. And so the metaphor that I draw here is with this person. If I'm on the other end of this rope and I'm trusting this guy to save my life, then, save my body at least if I fall, then I want to know that he knows how to work the equipment, that he's capable. But I also want to know that he cares, that he's paying attention to me enough that he will apply the skills when I start to fall. So it's this combination of this combination of care and capability that really adds up to trust, right? We need to assess that this guy, that my teammate, is somebody who cares about me and somebody who is also capable. And again, we tend to overvalue the capability. We spend a lot of time paying attention to capability on our teams and not enough time, in my experience, paying attention to care. This is why we really take a lot of time and attention when we facilitate meetings to make sure that we make space to really understand how people are doing, and we make space to really understand, to welcome people's emotions, to welcome people to kind of bring themselves into the meeting. It's not where we need to dwell, but it is often where we need to start. So I wanted to share with you 3 steps to great teaming, and then share with you one resource that I think you might find really valuable that we've published. So the 3 steps to great teaming really is really simple. First, you need to know where you are now. You need to ask yourself some questions, maybe bring in an outside person to ask your team some questions, but you really need to assess hey, where are we now? What's going good and what's going poorly? And again, if you have silence on your team, if your team's not responding to questions, it may be challenging to find this out. So you may need to sort of check in with yourself more deeply, make space for your team to share more thoroughly. And again, also bringing in an outside person, frankly, like the alignment company, is a place to kind of get a good sense of where your team is at. Next, we need to charter that team. And that really is about laying the foundation for really good teamwork. It's having the conversations. How are we going to share information? Who's on the team? What roles are we going to play? What kind of culture do we want to have? How can we support that culture? What kind of behaviors and activities and actions can we take on in order to support that culture? And then finally, we just want to practice. We want to establish good teaming habits. Great teaming, frankly, can be kind of boring. It can be really about just like it is in soccer or in football. It's about running drills and just doing the basics really, really well. And often that means meeting well, making sure you're having the right kind of meetings, you're reflecting often enough, having retrospectives, that you're planning well. All of these things are really, really, really important when it comes to creating great teamwork. It's not very sexy, it's not very exciting, but it's really like block and tackle, and it's really just sort of very, very helpful, again, to have an outside person. Again, I'm sorry, this is a pitch for the alignment company, but have an outside person like ourselves kind of come in and work you through the paces and make sure that you're hitting all the right marks. So we've published a couple of resources. I'm going to include this in the links below. One is our book, Radical Alignment. That's if you want to go a little bit deeper. Our free resource is on the right, which is the Align Team Assessment, which is going to walk you through a questionnaire to help you assess how are we doing as a team. How is our operations doing? How efficient are they? And also, how are we doing emotionally? And if you can do this for yourself and even give it to your team members, sometimes anonymously can be helpful as well. It can really help you understand where you are and help you form that foundation. So when we come in to charter the team and practice the skills of good teamwork, that we have a really good place to start. Anyway, thanks for your time and attention, and have a great day.